So it's been a minute since I've done one of the um, prayer guidance and grace readings. Um, Usually I read what Caroline Myss has in her book. So what I'm referring to is this book, um, Intimate Conversations with the Divine. It's by Caroline Myss, and she has 100 prayers, guidance, and graces. So there's 100, and it brings up a topic, and she discusses it. She gives a prayer. She gives guidance. She gives grace. And I like to randomly pick a number 1 to 100, or let the book fall open and see where we land. Today I asked Siri to give me a number between 1 and 100, and she gave me 67. And I'm not going to read everything to you. I read it. Usually that's like you hear it as I read it. But today I felt inspired to read it. And there was a message in there that I don't think was the overall message, but it's a message I want to share. So I want to give Caroline Myss the credit that she deserves for what she wrote. These are very personal things to her, and I find great power in them. Um, However, I have some thoughts that I want to share while also sharing her work. So the number 67 is the dark truth. And she goes through, and the prayer in it is she truly just has a conversation with God, and she talks about her thoughts, and you see her processes work through things. But she comes to the truth that we're not in love, or in her prayer she understands that we're not in love when we are trying to take somebody's power away. Love is empowering. When you truly love somebody, you empower them. And it is our fear that takes this power away. It is fear that removes the love. Um, that's kind of the concept behind it. I'm really paraphrasing there, and I'm not encompassing it all. She goes on to give us guidance, where she says, this is on page 175. We hold on to anger because we believe someone has disempowered us. That is how vengeance sounds in our heads. Oh, I skipped a part. But sorry, I don't want to start recording, and I don't edit these, so please bear with me. I'm going to try again. We hold on to anger because we believe someone has disempowered us. We tell ourselves we have a right to retrieve our power. That is how vengeance sounds in our heads. Turning the other cheek is advice we rarely follow. It seems, well, otherworldly. Then she goes on to say, holding on to wounds and hurt feelings is a choice. You are making a personal choice to dwell in the state of suffering. No matter how deep our wounds are in life, and some wounds are very deep and very brutal, in the end, we have but one choice. We either stay bitter or we get better. She gives grace, and she gives an affirmation, a prayer. But I want to share my thoughts. As somebody who was recently stuck in a trauma loop, in a survival loop, I was in a constant fear, a constant fight or flight. I was in constant fight or flight. And after a couple of weeks of that, freeze entered the arena. So that was playing in with it. But it was so hard. Like, all I wanted was help. I reached out for help. The help made things worse. Now, I knew I had to tell my story. I knew I couldn't be silent. And so that's what I did. I told my story. And when I told my story, the right people showed up, and I was given the help that I needed. But here's the thing. I was stuck in those stories. I was. And to hear that I had a choice. And here's the thing, I knew I had a choice, but I couldn't figure it out. I could not figure it out. I could not get myself out. So sometimes, yes, we always have a choice. We always have a choice. We do. But sometimes making that choice seems absolutely impossible, especially when we can't see what the choice is. When you're in fight or flight mode, choices seem impossible because you're in instinct, you're in survival mode, your body has taken over, and you don't have a lot of choices. But there's still always a choice. I know that one of the choices I made was to hit my knees and pray. That's what I had to do. I begged for a miracle. And things got a lot worse, but then they got a lot better. And I've been given the push I need to move on, to get out of the rut I've been in, and to really truly grow. So I don't want to say I'm grateful for that because it really sucked. But here's what I want to say is I had a choice given to me over and over and over, and I kept saying, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you. So if I had acted on those choices way before I went into crisis mode, perhaps I would have never gotten into crisis mode. And I'm being really vulnerable by telling the truth here because, this feels, this feels uncomfortable for me. But I want to share it because maybe it'll help somebody. Anyway, the choice I had was, a while ago on a social media site, and I'm going to be posting this across multiple social media sites, I think. So anyway, doesn't matter. I did 2 30-day practices. My first 30 days was gratitude. It didn't necessarily shift my circumstances, but it shifted how I felt. It shifted how I showed up every day. But I truly, even though my circumstances hadn't changed, I felt better about me. I felt better about myself. I took that energy and I moved into my next practice, which was a practice of love. I wanted to do a 30-day conscious practice of love. And I did it. And I didn't want to put the love in a box. So I didn't focus on any one love, just whatever showed up that day. And that's what I did. At the time, I had a little voice telling me I should do this one specific love, but I quieted the voice. I didn't want to control the 30-day experiment or adventure or whatever it was. I didn't want to control it, so I'm not going to put anything in a box. I'm thinking I'm being wise. So then, after the 30 days, I once again heard this voice telling me I needed to do a specific kind of love. And again, I knew this was true, but I wasn't feeling too good. I needed to get back into gratitude. I needed to take a break, just like a week. I'm building great habits, and then I just go, So I want to tell you what the choice I was given and what I kept saying, no thank you to self-love. I needed to do a 30-day practice of self-love. And I chose not to. I know I was being guided. I do. And I said, no, thank you. So while I got to a point where I truly felt like I did not have a choice, and I was in fight or flight, I was in survival mode, I was in crisis. Maybe I didn't have a lot of choice then. I didn't have a lot. I still had choices. I prayed and I told my story. And I even there were moments I did ask for help, but most of the help has come in because I was vulnerable enough to share my story. And I'm so grateful for all of that, truly. And I still have a long ways to go, but I have received many blessings, many gifts, and I'm so grateful. Truly, like I said, I still have a long ways to go. What if? What if I had followed that guidance? What if I had done a 30-day self-love practice? Speaking of Caroline Myss, I love her archetypes. I actively work her archetypes. I have a birth wheel. I have done this in groups. I have done this at retreats. I have led groups. I have participated in groups. And I have been self-studying for a while. I love the archetypes. I speak the language. And it's definitely a passion of mine. In her archetypes, in my first house, I have lover. Lesson for that lover. What I really need to work on is self-love. That's the lesson of the lover. In the 12th house, the unconscious. First house is ego. It's just like astrology. They match up beautifully. But it's the first house, ego, personality, who you put yourself out, what you put yourself out to the world, how you let the world see you. First house. 12th house, the unconscious. The 12th house also, because it's the unconscious, it has a tendency to touch on all the other houses. So 12th house is pretty big. Anyway, I wasn't going to tell you about my 12th house, but for some reason I'm telling you. Seeker. I have a seeker in that. I'm always seeking truth, wisdom, and enlightenment. So here I am, sharing my insights. What I wanted to share with you is my 8th house. And I have a rebel healer. The rebel for me is about oneness, wholeness, Christ consciousness, which I do believe is oneness. And we have to have oneness within if we want to have oneness without. And my healer, the lesson in that is, get this, self-love and self-care. Self-love and self-care. So I have 2 archetypes where this is very important. Self-love is huge for me. And I said, no, thank you. So I have a choice again. So what am I going to do for self-love? Am I going to commit? Am I going to do a 30-day social media on my self-love? It's good for me to be accountable. When I give myself that accountability, I do better at following through. I don't know. I just came on to share my insights. Oh, I never even got to the insight. Oh God, I'm doing great. The insight, if you've hung in this long to hear what the insight is, oh my gosh, you're an angel. The insight is, with the self-love understanding that I've gotten, that's where my power lies. It's in loving ourselves. So when people tell you to call your power back to yourself, call your power back. There are so many rituals out there that can be done to call our power back. And maybe it's love yourself. When you call your power back, you are calling yourself back. You are calling all of your energy back to you. And welcome home. I love you. Okay. Power never has to leave if you keep loving yourself. That's where our power lies, is in love. Love yourself. That's where your power lies. If you don't want to empower others, where's the fear coming from? And how can you change that into love? And look at yourself first. Self-love first. It radiates outward. It radiates outwardly. So love yourself and it will have a ripple effect. This is nothing new. This is not an aha moment. But if you want to empower yourself, love yourself. If you want to empower others, love yourselves. Because then that love will ripple out and it will love others and you will empower others. just by loving yourself. Simple. Want to change the world? Love yourself. Self-love. Yeah, I need to get better at it.